Jagannath Priya Dasa from Chowpatty, the disciple of his Lotus Swami. Regularly gets the kind of so everything goes 15 minutes earlier. Okay. Before it was 7:15 the darshan.
By what time? 8:15, 8:30.
We are happy to listen. So
I'm just wanting to know officially what time we end.
officially we go to 8:30. This is
Okay.
in the week like that. On special guest we can go longer.
Okay.
You play harmonium?
It's okay, I'll just play Karta. We do Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. That one? What? What?
Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Yes.
Yeah.
You need a song.
Yeah, just give me. You seem to have lost weight.
Yeah. I have this tendency sometimes because of too much butter and not eating. song has a name, right?
It's okay. Let me try find out. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे। कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे। तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे। दयालु जगत संसारे। पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतार। मौसम पतित प्रभु न पाइबे आरा। हा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी। कृपावलोकन करो आमी बड़ो दुखी। करो आमी बड़ो दुखी। दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई। अति अद्वैत गोसाई। तव कृपा बले पाय चैतन्य निताय। बले पाय चैतन्य निताय। हा स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथ। हा स्वरूप सनातन रघुनाथ। भटयुग श्रीजीवाः प्रभुलोकनाथ दया करो श्री आचार्य प्रभु श्रीनिवास। रामचंद्र संग मागे नरोत्तम दास। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय। जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Lila, chapter 22. Yes, chapter 22, text number 27 through 31. So we are reading text 31. Krishna, Surya Sama, Maya, Haya, Andhakara, Yaha, Krishna, Taha, Nahi, Mayara, Adhikara. Krishna, Surya Sama, Maya, Haya, Andhakara. यहाँ कृष्ण ताहा नाही मायार अधिकार कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया हय अंधकार यहाँ कृष्ण ताहा नाही मायार अधिकार कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया हय अंधकार यहाँ कृष्ण तहाँ नाही मायार अधिकार कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया हय अंधकार यहाँ कृष्ण ताहा नाही मायार अधिकार सूर्य सम माया अंधकार यहाँ कृष्ण ताहा नाही मायार अधिकार Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surya Sama, like the sun planet. Maya, the illusory energy. Haya is Andhakara, darkness. Yaha Krishna, wherever there is Krishna. Taha, there. Nahi, not. Mayara, of Maya, or darkness of illusion. Adhikara, the jurisdiction. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy will immediately vanish. Purport. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.34, it is stated, Ritayartham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. What appears to be truth without me is certainly my illusory energy. For nothing can exist without me. It is like a reflection of real light in the shadows. For in the light there are neither shadows nor reflections. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. When a living entity becomes Krishna conscious, he is immediately relieved of all material lusty desires. Lusty desires and greed are associated with rajas and tamas, passion and darkness. When one becomes Krishna conscious, the mode of passion and darkness immediately vanish, and then the mode of goodness, sattva guna, remains. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, he can make spiritual advancement and understand things clearly. This position is not possible for everyone. When a person is Krishna conscious, he continuously hears about Krishna, thinks about him, worships him and serves him as a devotee. If he remains in Krishna consciousness in this way, the darkness of Maya certainly will not be able to touch him. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I am very grateful to Damodar Prasad Prabhu to have me here this morning, to engage me in this service. Nice to see some familiar faces also. It also shows that devotees are somehow happily continuing with each other. It gives a lot of hope to see familiar faces. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this particular chapter, the series of these chapters which are continuing, they are part of the discussion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Sanatan Goswami. They are also known as Sanatan Shiksha, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally instructs the science of bhakti to Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami has recently escaped the imprisonment by bribing the jailer and has met Mahaprabhu in a place called Varanasi. Those days Varanasi used to be the seat of all knowledge. Today knowledge appears to be that which deals with only physics, science and mathematics. But true knowledge is that which deals with the sense of life itself. Having the human form of life, one thing is clearly understood, that knowing the deeper aspects of life, knowing the Atma Tattva, the science of the soul, becomes the prime responsibility of the human form. And any knowledge which helps to advance in that aspect is what is called as Veda, or true knowledge. So Varanasi used to be the seat of that knowledge. All the different kinds of philosophies which can exist, which can possibly exist to reach the supreme truth, were discussed in Varanasi. So there, even today, you will find big pandits, extremely high-level scholars, the greatest of the astrologers, the greatest of the tantrics. Tantrics means those who engage in mystical powers and acquisitions. So you will find all of those kind of people, even the bhakti yogis and the munis and all the kinds of speculators also, the greatest people in the knowledge of Sanskrit and so on. So Mahaprabhu was in Varanasi and Sanatana Goswami came and met him there. Seeing Sanatana Goswami, Mahaprabhu became inspired that this person, coming from a very rich family, he has given up all his wealth, in fact risked his entire life running out of the jail just to come to meet me. And who am I? I am merely a sannyasi who has nothing for himself. Today, the nature of sannyasis and the ashrams has changed as time has progressed. So when we come typically to a temple, we may meet brahmacharis and sannyasis, and it is also their responsibility to see that we get good prasad. This is the nature today. So the sannyasis have a lot of responsibility these days. Food, clothing, shelter, basic amenities, basic experience, they have the whole burden of hospitality. But those days, sannyasi means typically he had nothing to offer. Absolutely nothing to offer, nothing in his control. Why would such people come to meet? Mahaprabhu was not running an institution with so many temples that people can come and stay and hear nice katha or anything. He was just traveling from one place to another, having nothing for himself. So when somebody comes with eagerness to meet such a person like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who in the eyes of the world would be just like a useless person, that also inspires Mahaprabhu that such a rich, affluent person has given up something, everything just to come to me. So I must give him something which is so precious to me. Now what was so precious to Mahaprabhu? The whole science of bhakti. And that is why these whole discussions which come in this particular chapters, even the discussions which Mahaprabhu has with Rupa Goswami are very interesting and very dear to those who are very eager to understand the science of bhakti. So Mahaprabhu instructs Sanatana Goswami, now that you have come, let me explain to you some 3 basic aspects of the supreme truth. So he explains the aspects of Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Sambandha basically means, once you have obtained the human form of life, all of us do have some questions which keep coming in our heart, which go beyond the food, clothing and shelter. And these questions are more about our own existence. Why am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? What is the purpose of life? And so on. There are so many abstract questions which come in our heart in the human form. So those questions need to be answered properly. Therefore, Mahaprabhu begins to explain these matters to Sanatana Goswami by explaining the final goal. For example, when you all come to the temple and you learn about, when you see that there is some devotees are worshipping the deities, some are dancing, they are praying and doing so on, the natural question will come to you is, why is all of this Why are you doing all of this? And then somebody explains that, okay, so and so is the form of God we are worshipping, and why you are worshipping? Because it is the ultimate goal of life, and so on. So once that knowledge is established, then you become eager to know the details of the things which you are doing. So in the beginning, the details make no sense unless you have understood why the details are being given. For example, somebody tells you, okay, come, we will teach you to cook some item. You may not appreciate the method of cooking, but if the person first feeds you something and gives you a beautiful, nice, I heard yesterday there was a birthday party, they give you some cake and you eat it and it's so nice. Then that person may tell, come, now I will tell you the details of how to make the cake. And in the details of the cake, there is a description of every single ingredient. This is the wheat flour. This is called sugar. This is butter. This is heat. This is an oven. This is tray, and so on. So similarly, when a person understands that the goal of life is to attain God, or rather become godly, attain to the nature of God Himself, then the question comes, now I want to exactly understand what is God, who am I, what is the relation between me and God, what is the relation between me, this environment, and God, and so many other things. So this question is called as the description of the discussion of these kind of questions is what is called as the Sambandha Gyan. The theoretical knowledge which helps us understand ourselves, God, the environment, and the connections. How do we coexist? That is what is called as Sambandha Gyan. Once the Sambandha Gyan is established, so just as we were taking the analogy of cake, you have the knowledge of this is sugar and sugar is sweet. This is wheat flour and wheat flour is so and so. This is butter, butter has this consistency. You have individual knowledge of the properties. But now you need to understand the proportion, the timing, and the method in which all of these things coexist. That is called as the knowledge of Abhidheya, or practicing how to mix or connect the ingredients. That is what is called Abhidheya, or the knowledge that helps us to connect all these individual units of our existence. That is called Abhidheya Jnana. So basically what Mahaprabhu discussed with Sanatana Goswami largely comes in the category of Abhidheya. Of course, Sambandha is discussed, Prayojan is discussed. Prayojan means the ultimate goal. When somebody asks, okay, why are you doing all of this? Okay, finally, oh, it's, yesterday you ate that cake, that's what we are making today. That is the Prayojan. Prayojan is the ultimate experience of it. There is not much to be discussed in the Prayojan aspect, because once your love for God is established, then there is nothing to discuss. For a person who loves someone, you don't need to tell him too many things, because the heart has a language of its own. Like many of you may be mothers or fathers, you know that. You don't need to, the child does not need to exactly communicate the grammar of the language. Still the mothers do understand. And there is so much communication which goes between two people who love each other, just by looks, just by some gestures, just by feeling in the heart. So when love of God comes in when a love of God manifests in our heart, actually there is nothing else to be done, to be known, to be achieved. Nothing to be learned also. In fact, the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita at so many places discusses these things. All the rules, regulations, the methods, the observations, the discipline is only for those in whose heart pure love has not fully manifested. Of course, for a person in whose heart love has manifested, may observe all the rules and regulations, but that is to teach others. For him, there is no requirement for any rule or regulations. So such people are also called as Babajis. So there is a kind of a description of an advancement of a soul. So from sannyas is still a life of discipline, but beyond that there is a level of Babaji where there is no discipline recommended, because it is established that this person, he has nothing else in his mind and heart. He will be constantly absorbed. So even while he is sleeping, that is Brahma Muhurat. Even when he is awake, that is Brahma Muhurat. There is no difference of day, night, any time or any place which manifests. That is called the level of Babajis. So, in Abhideya, Abhideya basically, this term in Sanskrit means the literal sense of a word. So when we say water, we have a sense of water. It's not just the sound which we hear. Water. Whenever we hear the word water, 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 we have the meaning of water which comes in our heart. It's not just the word water which comes. So suppose I utter a certain word which you all don't know. Let me just think. Upasannam. Now you don't know that word. So whenever you hear Upasannam, you will not make any sense of it. Correct? Because you have no meaning associated. But whenever you hear water, you have a sense of that word. So, Abhideya technically means the sense of the word. What the word actually is trying to convey. So that is conveyed to us when a child you say water, water, so you give him the glass of water. Okay, this say water, you want water. So the child experiences water, and then he makes the association that whenever the word water is used, this is what it conveys. I hope you get this point. It's a very simple thing. So water conveys the sense of something. In itself, the word has no meaning. There are very few words which don't need to have any meaning. Those kind of words are the words which are called as the Bija mantras in the Vedic literature. So for example, we'll say Om, Hrim, Klim, Shrim. These are mantras, these are words which have power by itself. They do not require any understanding at all. So these are therefore used in Vedic mantras and many rituals. Otherwise, all other words need a sense of it. So, Abhideya technically means the meaning, the literal meaning of the word. Any statement which we read in the scriptures is conveyed in different manners. One is in the literal sense of the word, that is called Abhidha or Abhideya. Then there is Lakshana. Lakshana means there is something more than the literal sense of the word. For example, when we use phrases, let's say, can somebody give me a phrase in English?
United we stand, divided we fall.
Okay. Very good phrase. United we stand, divided we fall. I think this should be the slogan of all our temples also. So united we stand, divided we fall. Now let's say, if you take the literal sense of the word, I am standing even when I am not united. Correct? And when we are divided, let's say we are divided by the room, we are divided by the place, I am still not falling, I am able to walk. So that means this phrase does not actually literally mean what it is trying to say. It is indicative of something else. So that principle, when knowledge is conveyed in that manner, that is called as lakshana, the method of understanding in that way. I am just trying to come to the point of what abhida is when we go further in the discussion. Then there is vyanjana, where the method of giving information is conveyed in a more complicated manner. Like, for example, we use sarcastic terms. When somebody is not able to sing nicely, you may say, "Oh, you sing so well." Something like that. Trying to taunt, trying to be sarcastic. So that is also a method of communication, right? So the Vedic literatures have these different methods of communications. Where to understand, so a person when he reads, he needs to understand where is this, what kind of communication is being done. Is it in the category of Ranjana? Is it in the category of Lakshana? Or is it in the category of Abhidha? From Abhidha comes Abhidheya, which is the subject matter of Mahaprabhu's discussion with Sanatana Goswami. So in the initial, for example, we say the ocean of material existence. When we use these kind of terms, ocean of material existence. Now there is no, what is material existence technically? You cannot literally make the sense of that word. And you cannot literally make the sense that this is an ocean, we are in the ocean. We are not in an ocean. If somebody says you are in Bhavasagar, you are not in ocean, you are on the land, otherwise you would be dead, freezing now in this world. So those kind of things are called Lakshana. So Mahaprabhu begins by telling Sanatana Goswami that it is very imperative for those people who are interested also in the science of bhakti to understand what is the Sambandha Gyan, means the literal understanding of what is Krishna, what is the Jiva Tattva, what is Prakriti, and so on. And then the aspects of Abhidheya. Jai Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. And also the aspects of Abhidha means the interpersonal relationships between each of them. And this is explained in the literal sense. So, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan, these aspects are mainly discussed only by the Bhakti Yoga practitioners. In Varanasi, nobody, the impersonalist philosophers and others were not discussing these aspects. So this is important to know that, so because even when I gave a lot of technical information, some of you may be thinking, what need of there, what need is it to understand all these technical details? Why cannot we focus simply on the bhakti aspect? Because that is the chapter. Because these aspects are specifically discussed only by Vaishnavacharyas. The impersonalist philosopher do not categorize things like Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So from the bhakti perspective, when we understand that the supreme truth takes various forms and living entities here, what could be Abhidha? Then Abhidha could only be the process in which my relation with the Lord is established. That is what is called as Abhidheya. So technically, therefore, as we discussed, love is not something which automatically, love is not something which can be trained, that one can be trained to love someone. You can be trained to follow a certain discipline, but you cannot be trained to love. That is not possible. That emotion in the heart. So such is a complicated aspect then. Now how do I establish my relation? And therefore all these small practices which we do of offering arti, offering bhoga, singing, chanting, these are to be literally followed because they are recommended in the section of Abhidheya Jnana. Means that which has to be literally applied. There is no hidden indicative truth in the category of Lakshan and Vyanjan. This is Abhidha. This is literally how you do. For example, when we are trying to make a cake, There are no emotions there. It has to be literally followed. This is this, you mix it this way, this is what it comes. While you do that, over a period of time, when you keep doing that, then you have a sense of making the cake. For example, an expert cake maker and a novice cake maker, they may be following the same recipe. But still, the one who is making the cake for the first time, let's say I am making for the first time, actually I have never made a cake. But if I make for the first time under the guidance of an expert person, I probably will make the same kind of cake which that expert person has made. The only difference would be that I still don't have the sense of making, and the person who makes it always has the sense. That is why I use this word water and the sense of water in the beginning. So while doing the practice of spiritual activities slowly and gradually, we start developing a sense of it. For example, all of us, all of you, those who have practiced harmonium or mridanga, like for example yourself, when you would be first playing, it would be so difficult just making the sense of the tal, right? Just playing all those tak ta, whatever they, ta, dhin, dhin, de, whatever they say. So in the initial days it makes no sense, but now that you play it so well, it's like you just have an understanding what this tal is doing. So that understanding is the key aspect which has to be developed in the process of abhidheya. And that is why Krishna, he speaks these verses, Mahaprabhu speaks these verses to Chaitanya, to Sanatana Goswami. So I will read the verses 27 to 31 again, so you'll get the sense of why Mahaprabhu speaks this. So in text number 27, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatana Goswami that from the mouth of Brahma, the Brahminical order has come into existence. Brahminical order means the order which gives knowledge and wisdom to the world. Similarly, from his arms, the Kshatriyas have come. From the arms, the Kshatriyas have come, means the order which gives protection to the society. From his waist, the Vaishyas have come. Waist is the place where you have the stomach, and it also is the center of our body. So the Vaishyas, or the mercantile community, agricultural community, these are the people who sustain the entire body and nourish them. And from the legs, the Shudras have come. So from the legs, the other aspects of the society, the running of the society, making the society function, they have come. So these four orders and their spiritual counterparts, what is called as Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas, they combine to make the society complete. So that is text number 27. Text 28. If one simply maintains an official position in the four Varnas and the Ashramas, but does not worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he falls down from his puffed up position into a hellish condition. There are many philosophical speculators or jnanis belonging to the Mayavad school who consider themselves liberated and call themselves Narayan, but their intelligence is not purified unless they engage in Krishna's devotional service. Text 30. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life but do not render devotional service to you must be of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to spiritual positions, to the impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again and again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. So this verse comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what Mahaprabhu is discussing with Sanatana Goswami here is, so when a person is trying to do abhidheya, means trying to make a sense, like we learned the skill of making cake. But the point here is, once you learn to make the cake, you need to have little bit more understanding of why you need why you made the cake, in what proportion you must eat it, how you must eat it, and so on. If that aspect is not understood, mere learning to make the cake makes no sense. And this is what is explained here. Having born in the human form of life, you can make your life wonderful even without Krishna. Simply by following the duties of every ashram and every varna. Based on your varna and your ashram, if you simply do things nice, you'll make a good life basically. And one can also practice yogic processes and so on, do nice yoga, do nice pranayam, etc. These days there is a lot of yoga happening all over the world. You don't need to know Krishna to be physically fit. You can just breathe your way out to fitness. You can exercise your way out to fitness. You can technically, through the intellectual aspects, understand how the world works, how people work. Like there are people who understand how mind works and they manipulate people. Right? So it's very good. You can always read some scriptures, get a deeper understanding how the mind, the subconscious mind functions, and you can work very nicely in this world. But still, that does not make the overall sense of life. Just like in the cake. Making the cake is not the end of it. There is something beyond. So, that is why the whole process of Abhideya, in this whole process of Abhideya, Mahaprabhu is very careful because he understands that this fellow, he has escaped the jail, he has taken the risk of his life. So he needs something very valuable. You cannot just give him something which could get compromised. His entire life is at stake. So let me give him a knowledge which is something beyond what the words of the book, the scriptures say. Therefore, he speaks that, my dear Sanatan, please do understand that all these disciplines and all is very good, very essential, it must be done. But do not forget why all of this is being done. That is what is called, what Prabhupada used to say, Krishna consciousness. Because more important than Krishna is Krishna consciousness. We can put, recently one devotee was in the final moments of life, unfortunately at a younger age, having younger kids and so on. So devotees decided to create a facility where in the last minute that person will only think about Krishna. So they put all stickers of Krishna on the it was a bed which comes from the hospital, you know, that medical bed for the patients they have with all kinds of buttons and all that. So on that bed they put Krishna's photo on the right, they put Krishna's photo on the left, they put Krishna's photo on the ceiling, in front, and so on. Even with all of that, that person said during the last few minutes that I want to meet my family. So it's not a bad thing. I'm just highlighting the importance that Krishna consciousness is this consciousness is something beyond the literal participation in the activities. Of course, coming to temple, we naturally become more Krishna conscious than we would be near some, in a beer bar or a pub, obviously. But even while here, to get that consciousness is very, very important. It's not enough that we know water, but it's important to understand what is the meaning of water. So that's why Prabhupada used this word Krishna consciousness. He could have said that this is International Society for Krishna devotees or so on. Why he used this word consciousness means so that we get a sense of things which are just over and above the literal meaning of the words. Then life makes sense. And therefore, this verse says, Krishna Surya Samaya Maya Haya Andhakara Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikara. So wherever there is Krishna, the whole meaning of Krishna is where there is no darkness. And what is the darkness? It is the darkness of ignorance. We could be reading so many books, but still we will not have the sense of how these things operate unless the presence of Krishna comes in our life. That's very, very important for all devotees, no matter who we are, how many years we have practiced. That kind of journey always remains for all of us, to make a sense of things in a deeper and deeper way. So that's why here Krishna Surya Sama Prabhupada beautifully is explaining in the purport. To have clarity about how things work, not theoretical knowledge, but the clarity is so, so very important. And that clarity itself is Krishna. That is why Surya Sama. Just like when there is darkness, when there is no light, even though it's for those of you who stay in the temple and have been here, subconsciously your mind knows by walking of steps that what is the distance. So even without light you may probably get a sense that now here is the door, here is Prabhupada's altar and this and that. But still there is no clarity as such. But as soon as light comes, the burden goes in the mind to calculate, how am I supposed to navigate? I know that there is Prabhupada's altar, there is here, there is this. But as soon as light comes, you do not have the burden. There is absolute clarity. So this is what is called Krishna Surya Sama. When Krishna consciousness manifests in our heart, it gives us a clarity of scriptures. You don't have to read, okay, now what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Tell me one shloka which I have to follow. You don't need all those things, because you have got sense of it. That is what is called Abhidheya Jnana. So I'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your class. I once heard from one devotee that this Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan with this, how you say, it's kind of structure. You can analyze every philosophy, every religion in the world, and you can also use it as a basis to have a discussion about differences. And you were saying how many of those Mayavadis and other philosophers in Varanasi, they don't use that. So I was just wondering if we can still put their philosophy in this scheme of Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan and have a discussion, even though they might not use it themselves, but...
Yeah. See, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan is something like what we say, aim, apparatus, observation and conclusion. In any scientific experiment, first you have to establish why you are doing that experiment, right? Suppose you have done a thesis on a particular subject, you have to put an abstract in the beginning. That, okay, we are trying to explain the goal of life, or the goal of life is love of God. This is what we are going to explain. So that is prayojan basically. What Bhagavatam is doing, Satyam Param Dhimahi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. In the beginning, first two verses of Srimad Bhagavatam is the prayojana. It explains that what is going to be discussed in the 12 cantos. That is given in the first two verses, the prayojan. And then comes the sambandha. Heavily the sambandha aspect is discussed till 9 cantos. The aspects of abhideya is discussed, how devotees interact with Krishna in the 10th canto. Or Chaitanya Charitamrita is a classical book of abhideya literature. How devotees behave with each other, how they connect with each other, they engage their love, compassion, enthusiasm, tolerance and all these emotions. These are all units, right, of consciousness. They are all engaged nicely. So that we learn. So technically this can be used in anything, not just philosophical knowledge. It can be used anywhere. We can actually take material sciences also and find, okay, what is the prayojan? What is the ultimate purpose of doing some advancement or development? So in fact, if the world also more or less follows this process, they may not call it Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana, but they follow it to some extent. But this structure is mainly used by the Vaishnava Acharyas, not by any other impersonalist philosophers. So impersonalist philosophers follow the aspects of the 16 padarthas which come in the Nyaya Sutra: Pramana, Prameya, Samshaya, Vada, Jalpa, Vitanda, Chalajati, Nigrahastharanam, all that. There are 16 aspects. So they follow that. And then Nishreyas, the ultimate goal is that. It's only the Vaishnava Acharyas who question that, okay, ultimately for what? So the impersonalist philosophers, they say ultimately it's for our own perfection. But Vaishnava Acharyas take it one step ahead, but that our own perfection does not get a sense of fulfillment unless there is an aspect of love. So this aspect of love of God is something which is missing everywhere, in all philosophies of the world. For an except for the Bhakti philosophy. So that's why they naturally don't need that, right? Because their prayojana is that, okay, your prayojana is just the self. My heart is pure, my mind is pure, I'm done. So because their prayojana is that much, their abhideya will differ. Correct? If my prayojan is to get a nice cake, my abhideya will be to get ingredients for the cake, not for playing mridanga or harmonium. Correct? It will be only for that. So when my prayojan is only to purify my mind and my body, my abhideya will be that only. And my sambandha also will be only for those units which get prayojan. So technically the Vaishnava Acharyas, their sambandha, abhideya and prayojana cannot work for impersonalists because they do not have that goal in the first place. I hope you got it. But we can apply our structure. There is no harm in that. Structure can be applied.
But like you say, the Sambandha always deals with the ingredients. You have a goal and then that, but I think in philosophy the first step is always to understand
the independent
reality,
units.
What's reality, and then from Sambandha you build up. It's not that you define the goal and then, but the philosophers, they try to understand what's the relationship, what's the reality. So that means if you want to discuss with those people, you should discuss about the Sambandha first. No, what is your understanding of?
Both have to be discussed. See, one thing is like when you come, let's say I'm a new person coming to temple. What are you? I'll ask you, what are these? What are you going to say? This is Jagannath. Jagannath means the Lord of the universe. This is Baldev. You will try to make a very preliminary understanding of, oh, this is God. Now why are you singing and dancing? So you will say this is a manner of expressing love or joy or engaging ourselves. Now that you have given me some theoretical sense of that, which technically is a prayojan aspect, it is not the sambandha aspect. Because knowing, loving God and dancing in kirtan and all, these are aspects in prayojana. A perfected person does that naturally, right? But now, once I have got the whole sense of, oh, this is why you do all these things, now I will ask, okay, now I want to know more about Jagannath. So in the introduction, you gave me a sense of what you all are doing in this temple, and that may also make an overall sense to me, like a prayojan. Oh, this is the purpose of life, this is what we are supposed to do. But now I want to get deeper into understanding what things are. So I will tell, okay, now I want to know how this word Jagannath came. Why Jagannath? What are the pastimes? Now that comes the sambandha gyan. Then the knowledge of the soul, atma, all that sambandha will come. Then again, what you had explained to me in the beginning, which was prayojana, is now established properly. Now I make good sense that why we sing and dance. You understand? So, it is not that sambandha, abhidheya and prayojana move like a structure of a ladder. It more moves. These are all structures which coexist. One takes precedence. You understand? Like, so they coexist like that. So initially there must be prayojana. For example, I go to do an experiment. I must know why I am going to do that experiment. When we were young in college, the aim of an experiment would be to see that when you mix sodium and chloride, it makes this and this. So that prayojana is explained, that what we are trying to do here. When a person comes to the cooking class, they are told, so today we are going to learn making cake. So the goal is established in the beginning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. These two verses of Bhagavatam, they just give the ultimate goal of whatever is happening. But that goal is not experienced. It's just given. Then comes the whole thing in detailed understanding of it, and then application, and then fully making sense of it. So it is necessary. To gain proper knowledge, proper understanding is very much necessary. So basically it works, it all... See, if you have proper sambandha gyan, you can do abhidheya. Now when you are also doing abhidheya, then you actually understand the value of every single unit of sambandha which we are doing. For example, I have a sense of butter independently, I have a sense of sugar independently, and I have sense of wheat independently, I have sense of fire independently. All I know is fire always burns. But when I apply it in a certain manner together, suddenly the whole... Then I understand that fire has many other properties other than just burning and turning everything into ash. Correct? I understand that butter has many other properties than what we experience on the bread butter. Correct? So, while doing abhidheya, again your sambandha gets established proper. You get the understanding of what the individual units are. Then when you come to the point of prayojana, suddenly you get the understanding of sambandha even more better, and prayojana. Means the point I am trying to say is this, instead of seeing these three things as sambandha, abhidheya and prayojana as three independent units, these are not independent units. They all pull each other always. Once you bring sambandha, it will make sense only when there is prayojana and abhidheya. Once you bring abhidheya, it will make everyone pulls each other and tries to make the whole sense of things. That's how it is. I hope it helps. And someone who understands this can then evolve and modify things also, can get, that's what his deeper experience is. For example, he knows mridanga nicely. Now he will go beyond the mantras. One of the times he will just do something. You must have done that many times, right? Independent of what you have been taught. So he does it, and still it's not a problem. It sounds so perfectly well. So the whole idea of scriptures is, see how Kunti perfected her life, see how Bharat Maharaj perfected, see how all these different categories of people, they perfected their life. Now make a sense of your own perfection. We literally cannot copy somebody else and perfect our lives. We have to get sense, okay, this what can I apply, and slowly build upon it. That way. Our experience will come only by our own perfection, not by... Somebody else's perfected life gives us no experience. Like Prabhupada, when one journalist asked Prabhupada, have you seen Krishna? So he said, how does it matter to you? If I have experienced Krishna, how does it matter to you? Unless you experience, there is no meaning, right? So it's like that. Anyway, shall we stop here? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jagannath Priya